afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening from wherever you may be watching in the world. I hope that you can hear me well. Connection may be a little slow, so if the image or sound gets a little bit choppy, I do apologize. I'm just going to keep going and I'll recap in my post as usual. This is my Friday intention for Spirit Animal Oracles. And so if we recall, last week, Panther Spirit, Reclaiming Your Power, took the reins from Crow Spirit, and Elephant Spirit, Learning from the Past, took the reins from Groundhog Spirit. There are, as I'm tuning in, there are still echoes of Crow and Groundhog with us. They've moved into the supporting cast sort of role, but Panther Spirit and Elephant Spirit are wanting to remain in the forefront right now. And we also had Fox Spirit and Lizard Spirit. So Fox, thinking on your feet, and Lizard, dreaming the world into being. These two came through last week as well. So you can listen to that recording to get the details on those messages. But what essentially we've been working on for several weeks with these spirit animals as Crow and Groundhog when they first came through with their companions is we really want to remember how incredibly powerful our subconscious belief systems are at co-creating with spirit our circumstances and our world. So when we have that foundation of awareness, we can begin to check in and adjust accordingly those subconscious belief systems so that we can really take advantage of the metaphysical law of attraction that dictates that the frequency that we broadcast from our subconscious beliefs is heard by the universe and then reflected back to us, regardless of what that belief system is rooted in. So that is very important, a very important awareness that Crow Spirit was ushering in for us in a really, really strong way, so that as we shift our belief systems into those that are rooted in the truth of us being the divine, our own unique divine expressions of the collective conscious awareness, which is inherently abundant, inherently born of love and light. When our belief systems are rooted in those truths, then we come from such a powerful perspective and vantage point to be able to co-create with spirit, with consciousness, our circumstances and our environment and our world. So this is why spirit animals like lizard spirit and spider spirit come in and remind us to keep planting those seeds of our dreams and of our truest desires, of our path and purpose, of our mission in life. And with that foundation, the sky is not even the limit. Like, it's beyond the sky. So it's the stratosphere, it's the cosmos, so to speak. So I am getting an awareness that Fox Spirit and Lizard Spirit are going to move back into the deck. And Panther, I'm just checking in with Panther and Elephant. I'm kind of getting the impression that Panther Spirit is also wanting to move into the deck, but still, again, remaining as an echo and supporting casts with Crow and Groundhog. So let's not forget how powerful. So Panther Spirit is reclaiming our power, reclaiming the power that Crow is reminding us that we have when we align our subconscious beliefs with those that are rooted in the absolute truths of ourselves at our core and at our essence, being born into the birthright of abundance, the birthright of love, the birthright of light. And So yeah, so Panther Spirit is going to go back into the deck. But Elephant Spirit wants to remain with us. Elephant Spirit wants us to remain with us. The impression I'm getting as to the reason why is because a lot of us are going through a lot of really heavy shifts. Heavy as in like emotionally heavy, deeply rooted, shifting, um, stepping out of stepping out of ways that we've been identifying ourselves when we let's just say, for example, somebody has never met you and they ask you to share a little bit about yourselves. So if I'll just take myself for example, so I can choose to identify myself as, okay, my name is Gia, and I have a desire to bring messages through from spirit animal oracles. Sometimes I get really shy and bashful on camera, self-conscious. I feel like I'm kind of, overweight and that kind of thing. I used to be shy as a child, and I'm just coming into this and I'm not really that confident yet, but I feel like I'm getting a good stride. And it's been challenging recently. I just moved into a condo, but I wouldn't have been able to do that if my brother hadn't passed away and we sold the house that he lived in. So I can look at and start describing myself through the identity of the things that are from a perspective of lack or the glass half full, or circumstances that are heavy or sad, or a perceived challenge or something like that. Or I could talk about myself like, yeah, I am a messenger for spirit animals and dragons, and I'm really enjoying stepping into this role. It feels very aligned with my true purpose and path, and I love sharing these messages, and the messages are so important. And so I've been really stepping out of comfort zones and really finding myself enjoying it more than I anticipated, and just feels good to step into this truth about myself. I have a new condo that I absolutely love. I'm able to bring up so many things from the life that I've lived in other places into this environment, including the artwork from my brother, my dad, and my uncles, and it's a really wonderful place to be in life right now. So I don't know, can you catch the difference, right? I didn't even mention anything about self-conscious, about my physical appearance. So this is a story that this is an example that Elephant wanted me to share. Why? Because we are working really hard right now as a collective to step out of how the old ways, the quote unquote old ways of how we've self-identified in the past, that are rooted in the challenge, are rooted in the trauma, are rooted in the sadness, are rooted in the grief. And we're stepping into redefining and new narratives that are rooted in the new identities that we're stepping into, the new narratives and definitions that we're stepping into as we remember on our journey to remembrance, as we remember the truth of who we really are. And this is why Panther and Crow are staying with us as echoes of, as we shift these beliefs and as they become imprinted, this positive vantage point, glass half full, as we imprint those beliefs on our subconscious. This is what Crow is reminding us, how powerful that subconscious frequency is when broadcasting to the universe, to take advantage of that metaphysical law of attraction. Universe reflects back what we radiate out as that frequency. And then Panther coming through, following Crow as the reminder, this is how we're reclaiming our power. So stepping into these new narratives, I'm getting a little nudge over here from horse spirit in the spirit of the fact that we are in the Chinese year of the fire horse, I recently read a reference in a community that I'm in, referencing this powerful fire horse energy, and it is kind of about that, and it's not like we're gaining momentum. This is why Elephant wanted me to mention this. We're gaining momentum with this reclamation and remembrance, recognition, stepping into the truths of ourselves. And these are big, big shifts for us, for many of us. For many of us, it is involving bringing into conscious awareness, letting emotions come up through our conscious awareness to be released about events and things in our lives that were not fun to move through to begin with. And so this is the result of the work that we've done with the intentions of Groundhog Spirit, to really get to those roots of these belief systems that really just aren't serving, that they served a purpose, but now we are in a safe collective space to let that vulnerability provide the pathway and gateway for the release of those emotions and things that we have kind of put aside because we kind of had to function, right? So in our own safe and comfortable ways, we are allowing the uprising, the upswell expression and full release of those emotions and old belief systems and trauma memories and things like that. Not only from this lifetime, but from previous lifetimes, as Elephant alluded to last week, that this is coming from not just this lifetime, but from other lifetimes and incarnations that we've had. It's time now as Groundhog Spirit, time to let it go. And so we are doing this. And because we are doing this, it may really feel like, why am I choosing to do this? Because this doesn't feel fun to remember. This doesn't feel fun to remember those things that made us sad, to remember those things that felt overwhelming, to remember those things that we just wanted to hurry up and have the experience be done. But what these spirit animals are reminding us is emotions are, again, I've talked about this before, emotions are meant to be felt. They're not meant to be held within. And it's not always been like the reality is, as we live our lives, as we move through our life experiences, we don't always get a chance to allow emotions to move through us in their natural course of action. Otherwise, we would do that. But we do set up, what's the word I'm looking for? We do have coping mechanisms and strategies that end up getting set up for ourselves that served a purpose, but we're in a time and space and place right now with the momentum of how energy is shifting collectively with the planet, with the cosmos, with humanity, with the earth. And so we're shifting into an ever-thinning veil of recognition of who we truly are in essence. So here is where we have this opportunity to let it go. And the reminder from Elephant Spirit is the memory is not the same as the experience as it was lived when it was a current now moment experience. So memory is what we make of it, actually. This is what Elephant Spirit is saying. Memory is what we make of it. So I can have a memory of not being present. This is the truth. Not being present when my brother departed, when he transitioned, when he passed away. Now, that memory in and of itself is neutral because it's recalling an experience. I apply to that emotional projections. So if I feel bad about not having been present when he passed away, that's because of a condition that I'm placing on that memory. And then that stirs an emotion, and so on. And so elephant spirit is here to tell me, if I'm listening to this message, elephant spirit is here to tell me this memory is a memory. And the emotions and projections that I attach to it are what it's time to let go of. Letting go of that doesn't erase the memory because the experience already happened. So in this lesson for me is, how do I reflect on that memory in a glass half full kind of way? Well, I move through that memory recognizing with gratitude that before my brother departed, we did get an opportunity to reconcile. We had not the best of relationships as adults. So I get to reflect on that reconciliation with gratitude. And I get to know and trust that I did the best that I could do to love him in the time that he just needed to be loved. And it wasn't for me to fix him. It was for me to simply love him. So this is what elephant spirit, learn from the past. Don't live in the past, right? Learn from the past as neutral experiences. Don't live in the past. So when we notice and recognize those things are coming up, try to shift into the perspective of gratitude that here's the opportunity to let go of the charged emotion, as Groundhog Spirit was reminding us that it's time to let go. So this is Elephant, who came through last week. So the other cards have been returned to the deck, and there is at least another spirit animal companion that wants to come through for Elephant. So we're gonna shuffle, take a look. So the cards that I'm using, this is Spirit Animal Oracle. Colette Baron Reed. And as I bring through the messages, I will show the cards. So don't worry, I'll show the cards. And this will be posted to my socials, so you'll be able to watch the replay as well. So there is a spirit animal, at least one, that wants to come through as a companion for Elephant for this week. And as I'm shuffling and tuning into that, I know that I've said that sometimes I'll share reflections. So I invited Elephant Spirit to work with me. I don't know who you may have invited or not to work closely with over the week. And I'm going to admit, this is an ever-present at this time lesson for me from Elephant. So this is a good one for me to continue working with. I wanted, I have just a really nice connection with Panther Spirit, reclaiming my power, but with what I know that I need to work on myself personally, I knew that it made more sense for me to pull more intention into working with Elephant. So the examples that I shared actually serve as reflections for me. This is stuff I've been working on. And actually, something must have shifted because I'm feeling more comfortable with moving forward with an intention of creating space for myself for my own personal artwork, which involves utilizing like my brother's drafting tables and some of his brushes and pens and markers and stuff. So thank you, Elephant Spirit. All right, so let's see what's coming through here as a companion for Elephant. Hi, Danielle. Hi. Hi for Cab Dealer. I know that's Ben. Hi, Ben. How have you been doing? Thank you for watching. All right, so one more. Oh, this is a good one. Turtle spirit. Slow and steady wins the race. Slow and steady wins the race. All right, so this is nice. This immediately, what's coming through, the impression coming through is to have patience with ourselves. Be kind and gentle with ourselves. Set up those healthy boundaries. That was part of one of the messages last week from the spirit animal team when we were talking about planting the seeds that we choose to plant. And if we need to take a divine pivot and detour because we're noticing that, other critters are enjoying the fruits of our planted seeds, that maybe that boundary is just a fencing around our seeds. So that's the metaphor for that healthy boundary, to be mindful of the fact that this is a courageous thing, to be bringing into our conscious awareness things that are heavy and sometimes feel overwhelming, or are reminding us of experiences that were traumatic, emotional, and such. So it's not something that we should feel like, oh, if we were stronger, we'd be able to, muddle our way through it without being so emotional. And like, emotions are weak, and crying is weak, shows a sign of weakness, that I can't handle it or whatever. And that could not be the farthest from the truth. Because what's happening is, you are at a place, we are collectively at a place where it's no longer sustainable for us to hold the emotion and not let it do what it's supposed to have done, because that's going to cause more imbalance and disharmony than to just be mindful of helping ourselves create the safe place and opportunity for those emotions to be released. And we don't need to always name it. I know sometimes for me, lately, I'd say over the past couple of months, sometimes there's just even been random swells of like tears that honestly I could feel like, consciously I'm in a pretty good mood, and then all of a sudden, for no reason, I'm not even watching anything on television that would make me sad or whatever, I'm just starting to notice I'm welling up and tearing. And instead of questioning that and being like, oh, there's no reason for me to cry, let me just, wipe the tears, I make sure that I feel safe, and I just let it flow. And I don't even try to name it, because it wouldn't be coming up to be released if there wasn't a reason for it. So this is the deeper seated stuff that we've done so much work to get to those deeper layers to let up and out. So turtle spirit wants us to slow and steady wins the race. When turtle spirit has come through before, I've actually reframed this to slow and steady is the pace. Slow and steady is the pace. We want to be able to align this next level of release and letting go with what feels safe, aligned, and true for us, that allows us to provide that tender, loving care that we are entitled to provide for ourselves. And that indeed means also to pay attention to the signs that we get and the discernment of when we need to set up a healthy boundary. And that can mean pulling back on commitments that we've typically said yes to, or setting up more self-care routines. Like, it doesn't even need to be like quote unquote spiritual or whatever. It could simply be, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna soak a little longer in this tub and burn some incense and light some candles and put on some music. Like, or one thing for me that I've added to my life as a grounding ritual is swimming. I forgot how much I enjoy just being in the water. Like, I'm not the best like technical swimmer in the world, but it feels so nice to just be in the water, and it's easier actually for me to exercise in the water. So that's inspired me to be more intentional in that way. And I'm going to be rejoining a Zumba class that I had taken before, and I really love dancing and movement and stuff that's fun like that. You know, I'm not one that's going to get on a treadmill. I'm not one that's going to be lifting weights. Like, I tried that, but it's just boring to me. It's just not interesting to me. So those kind of things are also the TLC kind of things. What else is coming to mind in that regard? There's something also coming through about turtle being, you know, carrying their home with them wherever they go. That is related. Let me just tune into this. That's related to these healthy boundaries, and there's also a message in, okay, it's home is where the heart is. So turtle has the turtle shell, which is the hard shell, which protects the soft physical body. It can tuck inside. So that's just the underscoring of that message of, don't be afraid to listen to those intuitive hits that you get, like that gut feeling that you get about how you may need to react or respond to a situation. And if you, oh, there it is. So the message about, I've talked about this before in other messages. Sometimes we just need to retreat. We just need to retreat. And that doesn't mean that we've been defeated. It just means that we need to step back and take some time for ourselves. And sometimes that is just so we can even get clarity on the situation that we're stepping out of. Sometimes it's about recognizing the situation that we're stepping out of and understanding that for whatever reason, we just need to disengage, recollect, reassess, you know, reground into whatever feels aligned for us to reground, and then discern whether or not we need to re-engage in that circumstance or not relative to the context. So there's that aspect of that as well, and that's what turtle does. When turtle is feeling vulnerable from external environment, it tucks itself into its shell, and that's a healthy protection. And that's very appropriate to do as well as humans, as these souls of light, these souls born of light and love that we are moving through these human experiences. So that's one of the messages. And then another one is about home is where the heart is. So turtle carries this shell, this home with him or her everywhere they go, right? Everywhere they go. So turtle wants to remind us, and this is related to that saying, home is where the heart is. So we have this ability and capacity to do these things wherever we may happen to find ourselves being, whether that is emotionally or geographically. So it's not dependent on anything other than our internal perspective, our internal compass. And so when turtle comes through to say we have this capacity to do this regardless of where we are emotionally, it's that reminder that we can reconnect to the eye of the storm, that we have access to that stillness, that still point. While the chaos is swirling around us, there's always an eye of the storm. And we can choose and decide whether or not we want to be in that, the tornado wind or the hurricane wind or the eye of the storm. And we carry that capacity with us regardless of what experience we might happen to be moving through at the time. So, all right, just tuning in to see if there's any other messages. So the other messages, especially with turtles, I'm not as familiar with how old elephants can be, but these two animals can live for a very, very, very long time. As a matter of fact, I'm remembering a post that I reshared about a turtle that passed away, was over 200 years old. So what is the message here? The message here is once again from elephant's vantage point of learning from the past. So from elephant's vantage point of learning from the past, they're saying, like, look at how long we live and how much past experience and memory that we have, and we keep going and we're looking forward and we're moving on. So there's wisdom in this past. There's wisdom in the past. Let me just take a minute. There's something that's trying to gel here in terms of this message. So it's about, okay, so it's elephant just reminding us again that my principles and beliefs relative to energetics and who we are in our essence as souls born of light and love, having human experiences. My belief is that this is not the only incarnation that I will have, or that I've had, or that I will ever have. And so I exist as energy without this human body, and that energy, that spark of energy, was born when energy itself was born. So the beginning of whatever that is. So if that is the case, which I believe to be true, how much experience as that energetic being have I had until I've got to this incarnation? And so there is an imprint of experience of which I am creating opportunities to let go of the charged energy around, not only of this lifetime, but of previous ones. And within that, the opportunity to glean wisdom from each of those past incarnations. So, and a lot of it is not in conscious awareness. There's like, so much of it is in subconscious awareness, or in, like, you know how you just kind of get a sense that you know something, but you don't know how you know what you know? My mom used to say that to me a lot, like, trust what you know, even if you don't know how you are knowing it. And so there's truth to that I'm coming to the awareness of, and it seems a little bit silly sounding, but you just get that knowing or that feeling or that sense of a thing. And sometimes this kind of wisdom that we're bringing from other incarnations can come through if you've ever had a past life reading, you know. And I've provided that for others, and I've received that from others, and so that's what elephant is, elephant and turtle are wanting to underscore, in the fact that these are both animals that live a long time, that see a lot in their lifetime. All right. See if there's anything else that wants to come through here. There's a message about just underscoring the slow and steady, you know, integrate as at your own pace. Like, we don't have to compare ourselves to others. Like, so-and-so over there is, man, I wish I was in that place, because you know, I feel like I'm stuck here. But like, that person's journey is that person's journey. My journey is mine. Your journey is yours. And it's not to be compared to anyone else's. You move at your own pace, And what's being brought to my mind is like, how unless there's like a reason to defend or a personal threat, I'm just thinking about like when I watch like National Geographic and all that stuff, how these creatures, when they're in their element, you don't see them rushing about necessarily, right? Unless unless an elephant is like protecting its kin or its young or defending itself, or in a mating kind of a, the males sort of fighting for dominance or whatever, to be alpha or whatever. When they're in their element and there's a balance and flow and there's no threat going on, there's a calm, sort of steady pace to their existence. Like turtles swimming through the water, right? I get a sense of slow and steady, right? Going with the current and using the current to move them through their world. And elephants, they're so big and majestic and powerful, like other animals move out of their way, for the most part. So it's like there isn't a need to really hurry and rush through a lot of things. So slow and steady is the pace. We want to be kind and gentle to ourselves, make sure that we are incorporating intention and discipline into our intentions of releasing what we no longer is serving us, but we also want to make sure that we're having fun and that we are incorporating things that bring us joy and happiness as well. Like for me, again, the swimming and the going back to Zumba, and I know this is a simple thing, but I have my very first houseplant from my condo. It's on my patio here, and I enjoy caring for that. And that's a happy place for me that allows me to kind of be still in the presence of caring for that plant. So I think those are the general messages coming through. And I'm not getting a sense that there's another card that wants to come through this time, maybe next time. But I'm getting a feeling that these two will want to spend a good while with us. So I'll be back next Friday, and we'll tune in again with some reflections and see if there's any changing of the guard that wants to happen with these two. For me, Turtle Spirit, I think I'm resonating with Turtle Spirit right now. I think there are ways that Turtle Spirit is going to help me to remember to tune into my pace with intention and with the things that I want to be about in my world. There's a lot of things that I want to accomplish, and I think Turtle Spirit is going to help me to find my priorities and my pace and move through those intentions, more discernment to kind of prioritize what I want to do next and then next. So I invite y'all to do the same as I usually do. If either one of these spirit animals resonate with you, to invite them, or both, to move along with you. It looks like the connection disconnected a little bit, so sorry about that. But yeah, so you can choose either one of these or both, or if there are any of the other spirit animals that came through last week or the week before, trust your own spirit and what your own intuition is telling you about which ones you may or may not want to work with, if any of them resonate. And if none of them do, as I always say, if none of them do, then that's totally fine as well. So yeah, I think that's it for today. As always, these messages are for the collective, so whomever's watching live, whomever is going to be watching the replay, that is how I hold the intention. And there will, of course, be things that resonate with you within that message, but there may be things that don't, and that's okay. I do also work with people on an individual basis, so you'll be able to see how you can connect with me for scheduling a consultation with me for an individual reading, whether it's through oracle cards or not. you're ready for that, you can feel free to reach out. All right. Thank you so much. Peace and blessings, and enjoy the rest of your day.